Hey guys, welcome to the Zone 2 podcast. This is our post-provincial podcast for the track this time. Last week we did road, now we're on the track. I'm joined here today with my co-host, as always, Marc and some random other commentator, Ryan Cousineau. You may have heard of him before, probably not. So let's get started and talk about this weekend. For any of you who didn't know, it's track provincials here in BC. And so track provincials goes over 3 days, and there are, I believe, is it 8 provincial championships events, and 5 of those are jersey events. So there's 1 kilometer, 3 kilometer, Omnium. What? Okay, 1 kilometer, 3 kilometer, Omnium, match sprint, Keirin, team sprint, and team pursuit. So that makes 7. Sorry. There you go.
And those
Those
are
are
all
all the
jersey
events.
bearing? You said some of those don't have a jersey associated.
No, so only individual events get jerseys. So 1K,
Okay.
3K, team sprint. No, sorry. 1K, 3K, match sprint, Omnium, and Keirin, because those are individual. Those are get a jersey because I guess giving jerseys to 2 people is too much. So
So
match sprint.
shame they don't have a provincial Madison championship, just really for the crashes.
I think so. I think Madison would have been great. Oh, I forgot. There is Madison actually.
Was
So they
it?
didn't
Just
do it.
like
They didn't run it in the end. It
Yeah.
was on the schedule, but it got canceled somehow.
Yeah, I
no one
think
wants to do it.
probably lack of it's hard to get, good Madison teams, except maybe when you're doing like their big by invitation events, right? They had a pretty good elite men's turnout this year, and that's usually the baseline for the Madison. But usually when they do good Madisons, like at the Burnaby 4 days, that's because they've got some invited riders from out of town, and they typically bring the quality, and that also probably, frankly, it probably is both the start money and the prize money that means that you get a pretty good Madison field.
Ooh, prize money.
Yeah, you may have heard of that, but I mean, honestly, but I mean, I can start out. We can rate the events that they do run at the provincial championships. So here it's very easy. So in last place, as always, are any sort of time trial. So that would be the kilo and the IP. Then running right behind them are the team events, and the only reason I like those is because one, the Madison, if it had happened, it's awesome because of the crashes, and then you've got team pursuit, which I only like because our team pursuit teams nationally are actually kind of decent. And then team sprint, who cares? Even I don't care, and I'm a sprinter. So, and then after that, you've got the match sprint and the Keirin, which are sort of, I'm not going to say they're tied, but they're both awesome and they're both sprinty. And then, as much as it pains me to admit it, the current no time trial version of the Omnium is maybe the best track event around. I mean, it dices it out with Madison because of the whole crashes thing, but still.
I must have made your weekend then.
Oh, I no. I really liked the Omnium. It was. I mean, I think it's 4 races that I really love. I understand why the points race is the premium event in the Omnium. Although I do love the elimination. It's actually kind of complicated because when you have a big enough field, I think that the first 3 events matter a lot more. But
Hmm.
in a smaller field, the first 3 events basically become warm-ups because of the scoring format. I
Hmm.
mean, you guys can follow on that, but absent a big problem for one of the riders, you end up getting, I think it's that the scoring table goes 40, 38, 36. It goes down by 2 points per placing for the first 3 events of the Omnium. And then down to basically quote 0, but that's only if you actually have 20 riders in the field. So everybody gets points, and more importantly, the difference between first and third is 4 points, which, as you know, is not quite first place in one sprint in the points race. So
Hmm.
the points race tends to dominate the Omnium by design, but when you've got a smaller than full field, it tends to really dominate the Omnium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
for sure.
let's get to each event as we talk about them. So let's go maybe through the whole weekend and try and explain each event as we go
Yeah.
through it.
So
So
Kilo, I guess, is first, right?
yeah.
We're going in chronological order. Kilo.
Yeah, so let's start on the Friday. And the Friday had 3 events with the Kilo starting about 4 in the afternoon. If anyone was interested, what time? Because air density and time.
People really, really care about that.
I
Yeah,
think best
there's like a
times are
10
always going to be a
kilometer
mess.
there's a 10-kilometer headwind as well. Just wanted to point that out.
What?
Just kidding.
Yeah. Headwind
Hübner
on
is
it.
making a funny because it's an indoor velodrome, unlike
Yeah.
the pointless outdoor hot mess that is Luke Hübner's home track. You know, sure, it was used for the Commonwealth Games, but was it ever used for a 4-day? With,
This is
like a
true.
liquor license and everything? I mean, you guys don't understand, but when you're older, that'll make a lot of sense.
It's I don't know. We'll talk about 4-day later. I don't know what that is. But yeah, let's start with Kilo. For anyone who doesn't know, Kilo is 1,000 meters on the track. You start by yourself from like a stopped position in a gate, and then they release you as the time starts, and you do it in like time trial bars, which I actually have with me for anyone who is interested to look. So they just look like this, and that allows you to get in a more aero position. The reason you don't use those in bunch racing those because you don't have as much control. So yeah, Kilo, I won. Just wanted to quickly notice that.
Yep,
So I'm
you
the
did.
only person here who's actually won the provincial Kilo this year. So that's cool.
So let's follow up. Where did we rate the Kilo in our hierarchy of events? Right, last place. No,
This is
Kilo.
true.
Second last.
Cruelty aside, I'm looking at the results right here, and Hubner put up a credible time. He did his Kilo in 49 kilometers an hour. Actually, this is a bit of a smart ass comment, but that seems like a little slow out of the blocks. Or did you just find it a not very fast course, or is that about where you were hoping to get for time? So Hubner put up
Oh,
a 112.8.
it's so funny that like last no 2 years ago I did my first Kilo. This is my second Kilo ever. So 2 years ago, it's true.
That's a flex.
Is it? Anyway,
I think it is.
two
Second Kilo Provincial Championship, which I won. No big deal, says Luke Hubner, least modest man in cycling.
Thank you. I mean, it's like me and Mark. We're the worst. Anyway,
So we
You
always
guys should
brag
be
about
worse.
ourselves.
Dude, 17-year-old provincial champions should brag just a little bit. It's cool. I'm going to
Say-
give
oh,
you
yeah.
like the brag card here. You get a free pass. That's a hall pass. I'm here to bring you kids down a notch because basically I'm the only adult supervision who's enough of a jerk to be mean to children. But
Yes,
whatever.
I noticed over the weekend.
Yeah.
What's the problem? I hope I wasn't going too hard. Like I feel like you guys and Parker, whichever one it was, know where I'm coming from. But I wonder if Remy Garrison was there and maybe he doesn't listen to Zone 2 and was all, what the hell is wrong with this guy? It would be awesome if true. I'm pretty sure though he's coached by Lister because he's a triple shooter. And I'm pretty sure Lister gave him the good advice. Look, just ignore Ryan. He's an idiot. But it's probably okay.
I quite enjoyed the slander.
Well,
There's some little funny things,
It
like
was
because I didn't
so funny.
I didn't
Oh.
hear all of it, but I did hear the future self-proclaimed future of cycling. That was really funny. For context, Ryan kept saying that like the U17, U19 girls were like the future of cycling and future Olympians, and then we'd pull up like the U19 boys, and he wouldn't say anything. And I was like, hey, like we're the future as well. So
Look, I'm just making a judgment based on how many Olympic medals the women have won versus how many Olympic medals the men have won in the last few years.
this is true.
That's a
Actually,
good point.
No, there was. I mean, jokes aside, there was a couple of Olympic medals this year on the track, and one of them was one of the men, wasn't it? Oh, I don't know.
I think Keirin, right? I'm
Yeah,
not
I think
sure.
we got a Keirin medal. which
I don't
was
think
not
so.
actually is
Yes,
pretty
we did.
impressive.
No,
No, I don't
it
think
was
so.
women. It was a
I
woman.
don't think so. Yeah, the woman we got
We got third in
bronze.
women's.
Oh, that's right. We
bronze in
got
the
gold in
women's.
the Keirin, which was kind of like
No,
out
no,
of
no, no, no.
nowhere.
No,
Or
we
match
got
sprint.
Yes.
gold match
Yeah,
sprint.
Ryan, come on.
Come
Get
on,
on
Ryan.
this.
And these are some of
Ryan.
my favorite events. Thank you. You guys should be keeping me honest here. That's right.
Gold
I'll-
women's
I'll-
match sprint and then bronze women's Keirin.
Yeah, that's actually like the second time in a few years that we've had in a few Olympic cycles that we've had I think a gold in the women's match sprint. So
Mm.
we're
That was
churning out
the most
females.
exciting match sprint I've ever seen in my life. It was so tense, but
Mhm.
topics for
Anyway,
another day.
shall
Let's
we
talk
move
about
on?
us more.
Yes,
Should we
yes.
move on
But
to the IP?
Oh, I just wanted to say
Yeah.
with these times, so with the 3K
Yeah.
and the 1K, right? So I was 5 seconds faster than 2 years ago on my 3K and 2 seconds faster on my 1K, which is
nice.
literally like I've been through 2 full years of training now. Like 2 full years. My FTP has gone up by like maybe 80 watts since last time. I now have a carbon fiber bike, carbon fiber wheels, and I've only gained 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so to give you an idea, 2 seconds, first of all, is the difference between first and fourth in the kilo this year. So that's not nothing. But the second thing is that unless you train for either the IP or the kilo pretty specifically, they're hard events and they're because especially with the kilo, because of the short duration, it's a very technical event. You essentially have to get well, it's not so much that you have to get everything right, but getting everything right is worth a remarkable amount of time. And, priming yourself for that incredibly specific 1 minute and change effort is, I think, very different training from the other events that you're doing. And I mean, you and Mark and Parker and basically anybody your age should be, and I'm sure your coaches are telling you this, very much on a generalist attack right now. Like, really, there's no point in you focusing on anything but winning, say, road races and crits at this point and doing track, to the extent that you can do track, because you're developing generalist skills. And if you're going to go and fall into a specific event, it's not going to happen for another couple of years, I would think, for you guys. There's not much point in training to a specific discipline, before you're 18 or so, for boys, I would say. That's my thought. You might have heard better from smarter people than I, because I'm certainly not a coach. They don't. Most people know better than to listen to me about how they should train on a bicycle.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because if you do it specific now, then you kind of ruin yourself if you want to ever change for something else.
Yeah, and I think you
So it's
guys
good
are
to be
too young to be doing
generalist.
anything more than developing sort of general all around bike capability. And it's sort of early for you to figure out, oh, I am going to be an elite level kilo rider, but I'll never be an elite level crit rider. But anyways, and I mean, the other thing is at your ages, I mean, the kids who are good at one event tend to be good at others. And that was sort of borne out here, is that, we're talking to Luke Hubner first in the provincial road race, Marc Sato second in the provincial road race. Luke Hubner wins the kilo, which is an entirely different event from a road race, and Sato wins the Omnium, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I'm jumping forward again, but the point is, you guys, I mean, and not to slight guys like Garrison and Moore and your podmate Swanstrom,
Podmate.
but the five of you are kind of on hot repeat for junior championships this year, right? It's you can pretty much skip all the other names. Sorry, Trevor McFarlane, he came fifth in the kilo.
Yeah. It's true. We are very talented people, very amazing people. I know. Sign us up to pro teams now.
Well, I'll cut you down a notch and say you guys are big fish in a small pond, but I mean, it is the pond you race in, and this is the point. You're developing skills, and some of it is stuff like the kilo is very valuable because anybody in the world can look up and see what your kilo time is, and they can do some corrections for, well, what were the conditions and circumstances? Okay, he's not racing at Aguas Calientes, but nonetheless, for a teenager to be putting up such and such a time means something. Anyways, what was the next event you guys did? You probably want to talk about the Masters B men 45 to 54 pursuit final. Congratulations to
Yeah,
Sean
that was a
Walsh.
really good one.
He beat two
Sean
guys
Walsh,
who
that
didn't
was-
start the race.
Okay.
I literally randomly pulled that
Yeah.
result out of the race timing lists, and it just
Well, you
happened
guys
that
are
there was only one guy.
Okay.
So
Dude,
did you
Jersey
guys
cleanup,
beat
that's the way to do it.
3K 45 to 54 pursuit time? It was 4 minutes 23 seconds for the gold medal in the 45 to 54s.
What?
You
It
guys
was
did
really
better.
3 minutes 23?
But for a 3K, not a 4K.
For
So same
3K.
distance as you, I think.
Yeah, we did 3K. And they did 20 seconds faster.
Let's see. Is that right? Yeah, so you guys did talk about that while I look this up. I may have
That's
to tease you about
mad.
this.
If they
Yeah,
did
he's
that much
listed
faster.
as 35 to 44. You don't want to know how fast the 35 to 44s went, but the 45 to 54 was a guy named Sean Walsh, who I don't know, but he races for Gastown. And he put up a 4:23, 40.1 kilometer an hour pursuit.
We did. Oh yeah, because we were like in the 3-4. Luke did 3:46, so it was like we were like
You were like a minute.
Yeah, like 40 seconds.
You would have
faster.
caught him. You would have caught him on the opposite side of the track. That actually would have been a fun exhibition.
Never mind.
Yeah,
never mind.
You guys were hella faster. You were 7 kilometers an hour faster. That's ungodly quick. I mean, I wonder how motivated he was, given that he was
the only
solo.
person.
But honestly, I think if I, actually spent a month on the track, I could do a 40K.
Okay, let's not slander this guy.
My man is still provincial champion, no matter what you say.
Yeah, I mean, all right, fair enough. I mean, this is the kind of thing that gets me into grudge matches, which I lose, which may have happened before, although. Okay, yeah. So actually, yeah, U19 pursuit final. That's probably what you want to talk about now, right?
Anyway, I think we can go on. Yeah.
So first day we had the kilo, the 3K, and we had the team sprint. The team sprint was me, Marc, and Parker. So it was the Zone 2 podcast team sprint. We won that, but it was against like one other team, which wasn't really sprinters. Anyway, they had one sprinter, one
Did
climber.
you beat up on triple shot, you kids? Did you beat up on the triple shots?
Triple shot and Manu. Don't forget him.
Oh yeah, don't forget. You can't forget about Manu.
Yeah.
Hopefully they made
the only
him third.
other thing
Although actually Remy's fast. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Remy's
How much
really
did you beat
fast.
them by? Now I'm gonna look up the team sprint. You've
I
actually
think we beat him by like a second and a half or something. 2 seconds maybe.
Anyway.
You put time on him for sure. You put a second and a half is almost bang on. Yeah. So 49 kilometers an hour. That's a credible team sprint. Like at the amateur level, I always feel like the problem is you look up the team sprint and see if it was actually faster than the solo kilo in terms of kilometers an hour. And I think this one actually was, which is usually a pretty good time. Yeah, you guys did.
The only other thing I'll mention from the first day is on the kilo. On the kilo, the splits over the 5 laps. So it was 5 laps.
We don't have to go over this.
The splits for me was I was third, first. So I made my time up on the last lap.
Oh no, yeah.
Compared to Marc.
You know what mine
who
was?
went first. I
can see them because they
third.
Oh
no, you cracked Marc.
I was so bad. So bad. I started so fast and I was up. I looked at the splits. I was up the entire time. And then the last lap, I fell from first place to third.
Yeah. What was it like? So so you did
like
a 7.6 second final lap. Oh, and your and like Hubes was doing a 7.2. That's I mean, pacing is hard, and I mean, I'm not making a joke out of that or anything, but that's everything. Especially
it was bad. I just completely crashed. I was like, oh, anyway.
But Sato, seriously, what did that feel like from inside? Was it just that you, in retrospect, you went out too hard, or you like above sustainable pace? Or
no, I mean, I feel like the kilo, it's such a short event, and it's so the start is so important that you have to start full gas. Yeah. So, and I mean, like the way I'm like very explosive,
Mhm.
But I really can't hold it for that long. That's across the board on the road sprinting on the track overall. So I mean, that was always going to happen. It was that I was going to
Right.
start really, really quick and then fade. So
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, I sort of expected it. I mean, I would obviously I would have liked to win, but I mean, you know,
But
it's
from a
not.
pacing perspective, did it feel like you had done about the right thing? Like your crack wasn't, I mean, I'm teasing you about this, but your crack wasn't the end of the world. You were like 6/10 down. You were 4/10 down on Luke's final lap time. And even Luke was flagging at the end. In fact, if you look, every rider posts a slower last half of a lap than they do the 900. I didn't realize they had half lap timing on the track for this event, but yeah,
Do they?
like
What?
even yeah.
I
In
didn't
fact,
realize
that
that
actually
either.
makes me wonder if there's something synthetic going on here, that maybe the segments were not exactly even, because I notice every second segment seems to be a little faster. So there's something going on there with the timing. It's an artifact of timing. Please ignore what I said. But to give you an idea, that means on the last 200 meters, Hubner was like 14.2 and Sato was just a hair over 15. And that's 8/10. That wasn't the whole race margin. But
Yeah, I
the question,
completely correct.
yeah. Oh, okay. So you felt like probably you needed to
Yeah.
leave a little more in the tank before
I mean, I
for
don't
that.
know. I feel like the kilo, like the way it should, I feel like that's like, I don't know. I
Oh, it
feel
should
like
run.
that's how it should be paced, but it's just, I don't know. I kind
Yeah.
of fell off a cliff
I
there.
think I paced mine pretty well. I think I paced mine pretty well.
Good for you, Luke. Moving on to Saturday. So
Thank
Saturday,
you.
first thing in the morning, we did flying 200s and I qualified first. So um let's focus on that now. Enough of the kilo nonsense. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so flying 200s. Um yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the times here. So a 6-second time. I don't even know what's good, but I mean, 59 kilometers an hour. I'm pretty much guarantee that every kid in this field, I think, put up a better, faster quality than I've ever done. I don't know if I should say that. I think that I've done like crappy 12 or 13-second qualities in flying 200, but I'm terrible at it, like really garbage. So if you didn't beat me, then really it's hopeless.
Okay. Okay. It's not hopeless, guys. Don't
Well,
listen to
yeah,
Ryan.
yeah. Kids keep trying. You can still be good at bike racing.
Yeah. Anyway, so I qualified first round of the sprints. I sprinted Monty, who is a U17 racing with us. So that was super impressive that he
Yeah.
yeah, man, he was super strong. Even in the Omnium, he was
Well,
there the whole time. He
I didn't
never lost a
realize that
lap or anything.
Monty is down quite a few years on you, and he's. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, given what his dad looks like, that Monty's probably due a growth spurt as well. So you
He's
guys are
fairly
in real
tall
trouble
too.
if you
Yeah.
don't leave the junior ranks before Monty gets good.
No, he is super impressive. So yeah, I sprinted him in the first round, but I mean, yeah, I was super impressed by him this whole weekend. Luke,
Yeah.
who did you sprint in the first round?
Um, I
Manu.
sprinted. Oh, I hate
That's
these
right.
headphones, but my other one's died. But yeah, I sprinted Manu first round. Um, yeah, I sprinted
And
Manu.
you won.
I did actually. And then that left me against Mark in the second round. And so Mark had this really good. What was your 200 time?
12-1.
12-1, and he got first there. And I think I got a 12-6, right? So quite different. But that didn't matter.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Didn't
Oh,
matter.
sorry.
Yeah,
Gotta
There's
Luke
a
gotta
won.
do
little
it.
gloating going on here. I can see that.
Luke beat me, It's kind of
I
unfortunate.
did. It was a big shock to me. I was having the worst day
Me too.
so far,
Me
and I was
too.
like, I was trying so hard to get in the zone for this one race, and oh my God, like it was yeah, it was tough. So that was kind of what I needed at that moment. It didn't help in the long run, but anyway. And then that left me to the final with Remy. Uh, and for those of you who don't know, usually in a typical tournament style, you do 3 match sprints per round. So it's best out of 3 because match sprints have so much strategy that like it just gives you a chance that if you messed up one thing that completely knocked you out on the first round, you get another try to redo. So anyway, I did 2 rounds against Remy. I lost both. The second one, the first one, he got me like good, and I like, yeah, he just did, and really had anything to say about it. He jumped faster than me and out sprinted me. The second one was really just my mess up, because what happened is he stayed in the black line the whole time. Like usually you go up the track and then dive down. He stayed right on the black the whole time. And I was so dumb. I could have literally gone up track and like been above him, watching him, and then dive down to sprint him. But then I was like, my brain from normal races kicked in, and I'm like, oh, I'm behind him. I get a draft. So I'll just draft and overtake him that way.
So I wonder if what had happened is that race was pretty late in the day by then. You were pretty tired. Maybe you weren't fully keeping on top of your hydration and nutrition game at that point.
I think I was. I think I'll talk about it in a bit, but it was not my day.
Spoiler alert, he had just lost the elimination race to me.
Okay.
By that
I was
much, though. It was a
I was
photo
actually trying
finish.
to give
It was by
the
that
Shadow
much.
a segue into his sponsor read because we're about.
Oh, okay. Well, we
Wait,
can
we have a
play
sponsor read? Hell yeah.
Born, as always.
But anyway. Oh, shoot, that was such a good intro to that. I didn't realize.
We'll just
Oh,
play
yeah.
it. It's already
So-
played. It already played. Don't worry about it.
Oh, did it? Oh,
Yeah, we already
Oh,
did
I
it.
was trying to help.
damn,
you.
we didn't get a
cut
live
all of this out
performance.
then. Yeah.
No,
Anyways,
yeah.
yeah.
Matter.
Wegner's a great guy. Actually, if by
What
the
a
way,
good guy.
for those of you who know,
raced.
all of this stuff is also on the. I think the video is still up on YouTube of the entire day 2 video, so you can see a lot of this stuff. And you can hear me teasing Michael Wegner for his gentle guidance to other bike racers on the track.
Yeah, gentle guidance. Anyway, so then Luke sprinted Remy a couple times, and then I sprinted Parker for 3rd in the tournament, and I won both. So I got the bronze medal, and so then the podium was Remy, provincial champion in the sprint, then Luke, then myself.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys failed to achieve the zone 2 lockout that we were all craving, but
We had the zone 2, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You were standing outside. But no, kudos to Remy. That kid is real fast, and I don't know if I fully understood that before I saw him race this week. I know the quality of you three because obviously I hear you talk smack about it, and also because I'd seen you all at the Provincials the previous week for the road race. But yeah, it was pretty good. And can't really discredit
he's like really
these
kind of he's kind of the shock of the weekend, I'd say. He was definitely the like person we weren't watching out for that did well, because I was kind of looking more at, obviously I was looking at Marc mainly, and Parker, and then like I think Manu I was looking at. I was also kind of looking at the guy from Alberta because he was pretty strong. Cadence, he was pretty good.
Who had to race
Remy,
him in the semis? It doesn't matter.
and then Remy was quite shocking. I don't think his endurance is fully there, but he's definitely quite a menace when it comes to sprinting.
Yeah, he went over 60K in the sprint final, so no shame in losing to a kid who can drop a sub 12 on the 200 at Burnaby.
He did a sub 12.
Yeah, it's actually so fast. I'm almost wondering if it's an artifact, but they gave him credit for a like 11 point something second final 200 in the last lap of your last sprint.
Well, yeah,
not the flying 200,
right.
But when you guys were sprinting each other,
he did a sub 12.
Well,
in
so
that
did
last lap.
So did you technically, because
because you were only a few milliseconds behind.
But it's like you were like next to each other, so there was must have been some kind of draft or something. But yeah.
Anyway, I was not finished talking about that.
Sorry, my bad.
Actually, technically by the winning margin. Yes. Hubes would have gone sub 12 as well. So 60 credited with a 61.7 kilometer an hour lap for Rick
That's pretty
Garrison.
nuts.
Yeah, and you would have been in the 60s as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You both went
Wow,
under 12.
that's pretty nuts actually.
Yeah.
And that's like without any like downfall.
Wow. Yeah, I
So
don't even know what's going on there. I mean, for those reading along at home, do understand that like the sprint times are not always maxed out. Like for example, Sato and Swanstrom, their speeds were 54 and 54 kilometers an hour in their final lap on their two sprints. And that partly indicates tactical decisions that I think I'll give you the hint, which is Marc and Parker went very late in those sprints, probably because they're both pretty explosive sprinters. Whereas I'm guessing that Garrison and Hubner probably wanted to enter the sprint faster. And so you just have more wound up laps.
For me, I definitely try to leave the sprint as late as possible always. Like that's just
absolutely.
Yeah. So we definitely didn't start sprinting till the last lap, but you know.
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is that the times aren't everything. Like it doesn't mean you're a bad sprinter if you put up like a 54 kilometer an hour time. It means you beat the guy sprinting at 54 because you started it late. But regardless, under any circumstances, going over 60 kilometers an hour for junior sprinters is pretty substantial. Those are real speed. That's some real speed. So chapeau to you guys.
Thank you, Ryan.
Going fast.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. You mean the
no
world
problem.
to us.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll be cutting you down pretty hard later on. Well, anyways, no. What are we up to next?
We'll get to that in a second. We just have to start a new Zoom because we're on free Zoom.
All right.
Sorry for the interruption, but I need to let you know that this episode of the Zone 2 podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Born Superior Sports Care. David Miller and Michael Wegner, the go-to guys when it comes to all things nutrition. Born is my personal favorite when it comes to all things sport nutrition and sport care. Personally, I'm a big fan of the ISO Pro Plus drink mix. I use it all the time. Some other customer favorites include the Watson Minerals for nutrition and hydration, gels for preventing bonking while racing, no friction cream to keep you comfortable while riding or racing, and Recovery Relax to do exactly that after a long day in the saddle. To buy some of Born's fantastic product, please visit bornsportcare.ca for Canadian orders and bornsportcare.com for American orders, and use code ZONE2podcast for 15% off all non-sale items. That's code ZONE2podcast for 15% off all non-sale items. Now, back to the podcast.
All right, let's get to the Omnium, the main event of the weekend. So for anyone who doesn't know how the Omnium works, Omnium is made out of 4 races. Each race gives you points that leads to a final. So you can kind of think of it like a championship type deal. So first 3 races, I've had to explain this so many times to like.
You want me to do it? I'm a professional.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a go.
Okay. The Omni race in the modern format for UCI events is done as a 4-stage race, effectively. What it really is 4 events usually held on the same day in typical World Cup and Olympic championships. And indeed, that's what we did here. So the 4 events of the Omnium are all mass start events now, and they are the scratch race, the point to lap, the tempo, the elimination, and then finally the crowning one, the points race. We'll go through each event individually in terms of what their character is as we get to them. But the key thing is that you get points for your placing in each of the first 3 events. But then the points race is scored where just basically the results of the points race points are added to whatever you got in the first 3 events. And so the overall effect is that generally, essentially the first 3 races give you a head start on where you're going to be in the points race. And then the points race is the decisive event one way or another. It's possible under certain circumstances to build up a pretty commanding lead in the first 3 events, but you really can't run away with the Omnium in the first 3 events. You really have to be a points racer, and all you're doing is sort of damage control for the first 3.
Yeah. So first up was the scratch race, and spoiler alert, I won.
Scratch race was the worst for me because scratch race is my favorite race, and I haven't lost a scratch race in over 2 years. Like it's always the race. I always win the scratch race in each of like every race I do. Like even in elite omniums that I do, like I always win the scratch race. And then
How do you approach the scratch tactically, Luke?
Usually breaks, to be honest. Like
Oh, okay.
most times it's been a breakaway. I think at Westerns 2 years ago, it was a break. At Track Fest, which I did recently, I lapped the field in that. And I think, well, the Track Fest one was actually really fun, but I like got away, lapped the field, but then the two dudes who were like on my level, they broke as well, and they were like half lap on the field, and they lapped the field, so I had to break again from the field to make sure
Away
that
from
like
them.
yeah. So, but yeah, usually breaks. I like breaks a
Yeah.
lot because breaks are simpler. Like if you're in a break, like even if it's three people, now you have three people to worry about instead of like 7 or 8 or
Right.
whatever.
And
And then you have
otherwise
less
you're
people getting in your way and positioning, and yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that you don't think of yourself as a natural sprinter per se in the way that Mark would, for example, or I think even Parker has a
Mm-mm.
similar feeling. No, actually, wait, Parker's the guy who does 500-kilometer rides. I guess he's 500-kilometer
Nice.
weeks. I guess he's not naturally sprinty.
No, I think the way my coach has put me right now is I'm a road sprinter,
Yeah.
and track endurance.
Yeah,
But
then
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And I might be going the video might put the lie to what I say, but I think your scratch race was relatively negative. It stayed together, and the only people who fell off were a couple of the back markers. Not to
mm-hmm.
not to diss those guys, but like it was I think the group came together, and there was 6 of you at the line, all on the same lap. Just for the home viewers, scratch race simply means it is a simple race where the first rider across the line wins, and placings are only on basically the end of the race. So it's the simplest form of racing that they actually do on the track. Because of that, it can sometimes devolve to being a little bit passive if nobody feels brave enough to take a lap. But as Luke points out, it's very common that the decisive move in a lot of scratch races, especially at higher levels, is for one or more riders to get off the front. Because once you gain a lap, you are the only rider. That's it. Like you're the only you can only if you're not on the lead lap, you're not going to win. You can't win the race. It's not like a points
Yeah,
race where you just get 20 points. You actually are now up a lap relative to everybody else. So,
yeah.
but that didn't happen in this race, and so
I
Luke
thought
had
it
the
did actually
sads.
though. I thought it almost did for a second because I like made a break, and it was me, Parker, and I think Manu. So
Mhm.
like strong endurance riders, and Mark wasn't there. And I was like, oh, like he's done. Like he's not gonna get this. But then he managed to
Yeah.
clamber his way back, and so we finished as a
Yeah,
group.
that one was
Talk about that, Mark.
interesting. I was caught behind. I had just pulled off, and then I slotted in at the back, and then you guys went, and I was caught behind a split, so I had to basically I just waited. I didn't go around people. I just waited for people to pull off. I started like yelling out, "Get out of the way!" And then as soon as I got back back to the front, I just went like that, and I caught it. I just caught you guys. And
Yeah, but
I was
now
freaking
that
out a little bit.
you're
I was like,
prompting
no,
me, and I
no.
think that was yeah. But so you basically towed the group back, and I believe you because
Mhm.
you're taking 2 guys with you. But that does seem to ring a bell, and I thought that was going to be a pretty decisive move too because there was enough strength in the front. But,
Yeah, no, definitely
so
they were the 3 fastest IP times, and then I was like,
yeah.
okay, we
So,
gotta
yeah,
shut this down
just
now.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so
But
then last 3 laps or so, everyone was just sort of riding above the blue line, just super easy. And I was like, okay, I really wanted to get the jump on everybody because I knew like if I kicked, then no one in that group could match my kick. And then it was just a matter of just holding on for dear life after that. So then I just waited at the blue, and then I was thinking, okay, there was like 2 laps to go. I was like, it's a little bit early for me. It probably will get caught. And then lap and a half to go. There was still, we were still riding easy at the blue. So I just was like, okay, we're going. And I just kicked mid corner, and then I just went and won.
you held it. Yeah, tactically perfect. The We're gonna credit Marc Sato and say that local knowledge probably helped him beat Parker and Luke here, because the track is so much shorter than what you race in Victoria that it can be very deceptive that a lap and a half really is kind of last chance in most of the mass start races. You don't come around a guy who can kick strong if he goes at a lap and a half to go. And I think that's, for
Yeah.
example, earlier than what you'd learn at Victoria.
Because a lap and a half is one lap in Victoria.
Yeah,
Right. But
exactly.
Victoria's 400.
300.
300. Okay.
300,
Yeah.
333 for whatever reason.
Oh, that's a big, no, that's a substantial difference, right? So 333, it's a big track. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lap and a half is a lap there, but in your head,
You've-
you think full lap, that means 333 meters of pain. It's really not.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
say the track did make quite a big difference to me because, like, I ride the Victoria Velodrome so much that, like, I don't think about the track anymore. Like, the track is just where I am, and like I know, like, everything's muscle memory. The way like the speed drops when you go up, like the difference in speeds between different levels on the track, like that's muscle memory. And like how you go up and back down is muscle memory, and how you overtake and do everything, it's just muscle memory. Where at where at Vancouver Velodrome, it's not,
Burnaby
'cause I'm
Velodrome, please.
Burnaby Velodrome. Sorry.
It's a whole different city, Luke Hubner.
Sorry, I'm like moving there in like a week. I need to
Hey,
learn this.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you just moved to Victoria.
Yeah, now I'm moving again.
Good gravy. Is your family in
Yeah.
the armed forces? Or?
No,
I
the
tease, I
opposite.
tease.
The opposite. They're doctors. Literally the opposite.
Well, that's a real stitch up. Well, welcome to town, and we can't wait to welcome you to the mainland, where you know what, with the time change, you go from 1952 to 2021.
Oh, God.
Oh, you go from anyway.
That's pretty good.
As I was saying, the track is all muscle memory. And so at Burnaby, there was a lot of the time I was just thinking about the track. And like a lot of the time I was distracted by the track. Like my whole 200 time, my 200 was literally like, okay, go, corner, 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 go, corner, 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 corner. Like it's very like I obviously had like big jumps coming out of the corner, because sometimes I'd like torque really hard and my like wheel would kind of skip out, because in the corners I'm like, oh my god, this is so sharp, I'm feeling so many g forces, and there's like this moment of like weightlessness in the corners, and I'm like not used to that, and so that paid a big effect, that I wasn't just thinking about positioning and power and all that. I was thinking, oh my god, like I feel weightless right now.
Do you know what the bank angles are in Victoria?
8 degrees.
No, not 8. It's got to be way higher than that.
Oh no,
8
sorry,
degree.
12. It's like
No,
12.
like
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
straightaway, right?
No, on the corner it's like 12.
It's barely a track. Okay,
I know.
so that's actually shockingly unsteep. Mark, is he even right? I'm going to look this up later, because
That's
12
yeah,
would be
that's-
super shallow.
That does not seem accurate at all. But
No.
it's 12. You can stand on it like perfectly fine. You can like come to a full stop on the corner.
Wow. Anyways, I'll look that up later, but that would be a very shallow track, even by sort of outdoor 333s. I'm not ripping you. There'll
Maybe
be a
it might
fact
be
check.
20.
Ryan was wrong later, but nonetheless, to give you an idea of folks listening at home, the track at Burnaby is 47 degrees banked, which is steep even by steep track standards. There's maybe one or two in the world that actually go steeper, although it's not that far off what you'll see at typical sort of the global standard nowadays is 250-meter indoor velodromes, and they're all pretty close, I think, to 45-degree banking in the corners. But Burnaby comes up a little shorter and a little steeper, and so it's a bit of a.
I just looked it up.
Mhm.
I just looked up. So Burnaby, as Ryan was about to say, little steeper. It's 47 degrees.
47 in the corners.
47 in the corners compared to Victoria is 29 in the corners.
That's still really shallow, though. Yeah, and I mean, as you say, you can walk up it. It's a totally different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
So-
also, the big difference is 47 degrees at Burnaby has a minimum speed where where
Yeah.
Victoria's 29 does not. Like you can crawl in Victoria.
Mhm.
You can like you don't like I've done so many match sprints where it's almost come to a track stand in the corner because it's just so like
Yeah.
not
Concrete
steep.
track as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that gives you a little. I think that might actually give you a slightly more lateral grip. Like the reason they go for the wooden boards is they roll beautifully and you get faster speeds. But I think the concrete tracks may be a bit more forgiving until you hit them. Although eventually we're going to get to Luke Huebner's story about hitting indoor wooden tracks and what that's like. But we'll carry on.
I
So we
think
probably said,
that's actually the next race.
"Oh,
Yeah.
goody."
Let's get to that now.
So
Tempo.
yeah, so scratch for everyone. Marc won. Wait, actually, let me just bring this up real quick. So Marc won, giving him a total of 40 points with. Wait, what does it say here?
Parker
It
was
says here
second.
that
Yeah.
Park. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So Marc came first with 40 points. Park came second with 38, which was a big shock to me. I was like, okay, solid second. And then Parker flies over me. I was like, fuck. And then I was third with 36 points.
But I mean, for those of you playing along, by the way, if you go to racetiming.ca, you can actually do the postmortem on all of these races along with us, and they're showing the Omnium results there and all that. So this is what we were talking about earlier. So the points after the scratch race are 40, 38, 36, 34, 32 for our heroes here. So not a lot of difference when you consider they're basically going to give out somewhere around 100 points to the winner of the points race. I'll have to look up that numbers. That's just a rough estimate. But what it means is that you're only making it so all of Marc's efforts here made a total of 2 points advantage for him over Parker and only 4 points advantage over Huebner. And then so on and so forth. So yeah. Which is not nothing, but
yeah,
it's a slight
exactly.
advantage for you do a whole race and you get like 2 points.
I know, but if the Omnium, it ended extremely close, so those 2 points did matter.
It did end very close, didn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, onto the tempo. The first half, people were just sort of exchanging. They would go to the front, get a couple points.
Let's quickly explain. So for anyone who doesn't know, tempo, first person across the line after the bell gets a point. So every lap, first person gets a point. So it's I think this is the most challenging event because like you might spend a bunch of energy at the front trying to stay at the front, get points, and you might use all that energy and someone comes around to you at the very end and takes a point. And then at the end, it's only 1 point. And there's just a bunch of stuff. It takes so much effort to get 1 point, but then you need multiple points. It's a very tricky race. But
yeah, so
Marc
and you guys did
continue on
35 lap points race, a 35 lap tempo race, which is 7 kilometers on our little baby track. And so the way that's run is after the neutral lap, they start the race. The first 5 laps don't have points. Basically, it's the setup, but it's not neutral. It's just you can do whatever, but you don't get points. And then you have 30 points bearing laps. And there's nothing special about the final lap, except that if there's any ties in the results, those are decided by final sprint position. All right. And so who wants to talk about how the actual race ran? I'm just looking at the sprints one, so I can kind of see exactly what happened.
The first half, it was basically just people would go get a couple laps, then go back to the group, and people were just sort of exchanging. So it was like kind of even between Luke, myself, Manu, Parker, Caden.
Yeah. That was about it. Trevor McFarlane got a point on the 7th lap, and he was the only other kid in the race to get points.
Yeah. So then Parker attacked, and no one really went with him. They just let him take all the rest of the points. And it was looking like it was going to be fairly uneventful. He was just going to get all the other points until Luke.
Until suddenly I was sent sliding down the track with yeah, it was quite a shocking thing, actually. I'm not sure really what happened because I don't remember really, but basically I was kind of higher up on the track, and I might have been like maybe looking to overtake, or I was just behind this younger guy. I don't even remember where he was, but I just remember I was just thinking of the race, looking forward at Parker, and then suddenly the guy I was right behind was like swinging up, and and so I tried to like go up as well because he was like overlapping with me, and he took out my front wheel, and I sent flying down. And sadly, my good friend Trevor was right below me, so I accidentally hit Trevor on the way down. So that wasn't so fun. Yeah, which was my first time crashing ever at the track. Which is interesting. I crashed all the way from the top, so I feel like I've experienced the entirety of the track now, from the top to bottom. Ryan's like making all these faces, yet he's always like, "Ooh, Madison's have good crashes."
I have eaten it on the track once or twice. Actually, the worst crash I ever had on the track was solo, but it was basically from the same place that you did it, except in corner 2. And I was just doing a sprint effort, and I clipped out, and then which is bad, by the way. If you unclip halfway on the track, you're going to have a bad day. And then I wasn't able to manage it, and then for some reason my front tire rolled, probably because I was the guy who glued it on. But at that point, I went from trying to find a good solution to trying to find a good death, because rolled the tire in the corner when I was above the stayers line, and I just slid right down to the infield, and I was like not quite upright. I think it was basically upright on the infield, but then like I just ate the dirt, and I did not amazingly break a rib, but I sure felt like I had.
Oof.
Yeah. Anyways, but Hubner did worse than me. He definitely got the worst of it. So, and he ruined a glorious leopard print pink skin suit in the process.
I know. I am actually so upset about that. Like, I'm not too like the damages to me are fine. But yeah, I have this lovely pink skin suit here, and now there's a massive hole in the bottom, which sucks.
I think once you patch that up, it'll only look cooler, actually. Just use some teal thread to sort of highlight the patch in, and it'll look really neat. I'm not even joking, dude. Just do it. You can wear it for, like, I don't know, illegal hipster fixie alley cats.
Yeah.
All right.
I think what my mom's gonna do is she's putting out an email to ask people if they have old skin suits, so that like I can just burn through a bunch and crashes. So she wrote me this whole email to send out, which is like, I'm a poor university student who can't afford new skin suits. Please give me skin suits.
Oh, geez. So, seriously, dude, when you come here to Vancouver, to real Vancouver, not just Vancouver Island, hit me up. If nothing else, I can sew a patch in that. I've got some crap spandex, and we can at least make it somewhat functional again.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll take you up on that. But yeah, I wiped out. I remember as I crashed, just thinking, I really hope my bike doesn't get broken. Like, that was my first thought, sliding down the track. I was like, bike. I was like, bike. It's like my first thought. And I remember also thinking, because my bike detached from me, like as I felt like it must have unclipped, and I saw it and I was like, my bike looks really cool, actually. Like, it's a good looking bike. I remember thinking that. And then I saw Trevor. I was like, oh shoot, Trevor. I hope he doesn't hurt my bike. And then I came, and then I immediately got up. I don't think I laid there for a second. I got up immediately, looked over my bike, like very briefly. I looked at it. I was like, okay, 5-spoke isn't cracked. We're good. I was like, we're good. Because if you didn't know, I have this amazing 5-spoke. It's my prized possession. Subtle flex. But I looked at it. I was like, okay, we're good. There's no levers or anything to break. Okay, we're solid. I got back on. Poor Trevor. I feel so bad. I think he got my guy Trevor was not getting up, so I feel really bad about that. Hope he's feeling better now, but it wasn't Trevor's day. Anyway, I rejoined the race, and because of the way the race works with the points, I still managed second.
Yep. So that race, Parker won. Luke got second. I was third. So that put Parker in the lead of the Omnium, with me second and Luke third. Yeah, and then that brings us to the elimination.
The elimination.
The elimination, yes. So elimination, pretty similar to Westerns 2 years ago. I just controlled the front, just slightly increasing the pace on the elimination laps, and then slowly decreasing it on non-elimination laps. And just looking over.
Mark, before you explain how it went down, let me explain the race for the home viewers.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah. So elimination, the queen of track cycling races, my personal favorite event, one I've always loved racing and watching. So the elimination race is fairly straightforward. Once they get all the riders started, every second lap is an elimination lap, which means the last rider on the track gets eliminated. And so the way they do that is it's actually the finish is uniquely in cycling is scored off of the back edge of the back wheel, basically, because it's easier to tell. And it becomes a surprisingly strategic and tactical race for a simple reason, which, I mean, Mark's explaining some of the tactics he was using. At the front, it doesn't have to be very fast because you don't want to win these laps. You just don't want to be last. So there's a natural bunching effect where the riders at the front part of the field, if they're far up enough to feel confident about their position, are going no faster than they really need to. Just, they'll be cruising, not really sprinting. But the riders at the back of the field are desperate. So you get weird stuff. But of course, you can't just sprint through the riders who are actually physically present. So it becomes an enormous game of tactical position on track. And very savvy elimination experts will do things like know which rider they're going to peg to fall behind them and therefore basically be their sacrificial victim. And they will tactically position themselves even a lap before the elimination lap to ensure that that rider can't come around them. And similarly, what you'll see is very smart riders. You can tell when a rider is in danger, you can tell whether he's smart or desperate by whether or not they go up track or down track, when they're starting to try to de-eliminate themselves. Down track, there's usually a hole, but it's always a fool's game because you end up finding that hole and then it turns up everybody above you is able to go up and move forward, but you're stuck because there's nowhere to go forward. So anyways, it's a hard race. It's a sneaky race. And there's often basically the guys who do well at these races are either really strong riders who ride from the front or really sneaky jerks who ride from the back.
Me.
And we have an example of each of these in this race.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. So I rode the front. I tried to match pace, looking over my shoulder, making sure I wasn't going faster or slower than the rest of the group, just trying to match the speed. And that's how I like to race eliminations usually, when I feel like I'm one of the stronger riders. If I'm racing like people way above me, then it's not really possible, but I do like to race eliminations from the front. So I just sort of tried to control it. Manu was like boxing people in a lot. He was right on my hip. He was actually really being like what you said, kind of sort of like sneaky, just trying to like eliminate other riders. And he got Remy out early, Parker got out early. And then it came down to myself, Luke, and Manu over the last three. Manu got eliminated basically, I think, just on how fresh he was. He was kind of tired. So then it was Luke and I for the final sprint. And boy, was it close. With half a lap to go, I had pushed him up above the blue line. And then I dove down. And then I thought I was like, oh, I just kicked really, really hard. Luke is not going to match it. It's over. I look to my left. I don't see him. So I was like, uh-oh, he's not behind me. So then I look to my right and he's right there. I'm like, uh-oh. So I was like, oh man.
He was underneath you in the sprinters lane? I forgot that part.
No, I was.
Look to your right. So he was there.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, he's right there. Uh-oh. So then I was like, I shouldn't have been looking around. I should have just been sprinting. So then I tuck down again and sprint for the last 20, 30 meters and then give a nice little bike throw. And the photo finish, I'll put it on screen now, but I won by that much, like 15 centimeters maybe.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was extremely close.
So how did that go down from your perspective, Luke?
From my perspective, it was a very solid race, actually. I just came out from the break from a crash. I wasn't expecting to do well, and I had like a piece of. I forgot to mention I got a bunch of burns, which are healing now. And I also got. I don't know where I put it, but I have a piece. Oh, it's here. this piece of wood there was in me. It was so deep in me that like I couldn't pull it out, so I had to go to the hospital that night and get it surgically removed. Um, so I
And
have
they probably
stitches and stuff from
triaged
that.
you as, well, he won't die, so we're going to leave him until we deal with all the people who got stabbed. So you had to be there till like 1 or something?
Yes, I got out at 12:30. Anyway, um, maybe I'll talk about it later. But yeah, it was a really good race for me, actually. I was shocked. I think elimination is one of my strongest. I didn't realize. I always
Yeah.
seem to do well. At my first ever Omnium, that was the only race I won. And yeah, pretty solid. I got second. I don't know. The end, I was like, I pushed really hard to beat Manu. And then suddenly Marc was pushing me up the track and it was a match sprint. And I was like, oh, really? I got to like do this now. I just want to like, can we not? I've just done this huge effort to race. Oh, Ryan's frozen. But I did this huge effort to beat Manu, get there. And then Marc's trying to be all tactical. Wasn't really. I was like, oh, really? Okay. And then, yeah, we sprinted, but I really wanted it. So I pushed pretty hard. Didn't get past him in the end. Oh, excuse me. Well, yeah, I didn't get past him in the end, but oh well, I still got second. So I was pretty happy about that, especially coming straight from a crash to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parker actually, in our constructors championship here, Parker actually, that was his poorest event, where he was fifth. Actually, he got fifth. And I thought that kind of put him, that it was going to be now a battle between first and second between me and Marc, but we'll talk about the elimination soon.
Yeah, actually, you're right about that. That Parker really did get done dirty by the, well, not done dirty, but he really got hurt by his as we found out in the Omnium finals. He got hurt badly by his fifth place in this event, because that puts him something like 10-point gap between him and Marc.
He was 6 down on me. Going into the points race, it was me, then 4 points to Luke, and then 2 further points to Parker. So
yeah,
it was really still all to play for.
Right.
He lost 8 points in that race. So if he'd, as we'll see at the end, if he'd been even 1 place higher, he would have won.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, the race is the race. Do you have that photo for us, Marc?
I'll put it up on screen on the YouTube.
Okay, cool.
I'll show it to you quickly, Ryan.
No, it's okay.
I have it here
but
somewhere.
yeah, whenever you find it.
No. You've asked now, so now you got to see it. No, you've asked now.
Okay.
You wanted to see. You're like, Luke, where's the photo?
While Luke is looking for the photo, we'll start the introduction to the final event. Oh my, yeah, that is pretty close. So it was pretty close. You'll get a better view of that on the YouTubes. The final event here for your Omnium was the points race for the U19, U17 men. So you kids did a 60-lap points race again at the Velodrome. That's a 12-kilometer race. These don't sound like high distances, but this is an action-packed race. I often like to say that the track is road racing with all the boring bits cut out. There's a lot more racing events per minute of racing than there is in road and crit stuff.
For sure.
So
it's very true.
So 6 by 10 point sprint, which means that there is a sprint every 10 laps in a 60-lap race, and points go 4 deep on each sprint, and the final sprint is double. And if you take a lap, you gain 20 points. And if you lose a lap, you lose 20 points. And neither of those things happened, because I don't think anybody gained or lost a lap in your particular race, but there was lots of sprinting.
Yeah, it was sort of like the first 3 sprints where people would ride easy, and then there'd be a sprint, and then people would ride easy, and then there'd be a sprint for the first 3 sprints. And just so happened that the first 2 sprints, Luke started sprinting with like a lap to go on both of them, and then on both of them, I just rushed past him and came around and pipped him for the first 2.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Marc heard me swear in frustration after the second one. I was like, oh, really? Because like the second one, the first one, I was like, oh, okay, fine. Second one, I sat up because I was like, he's not here. Like, I don't want to waste any more energy than I need to.
Oh.
So I slightly sat up and he came around me and he like got it by like this much. It was like this much each time. It
It
wasn't
was
a
so
lot.
close. It was really, really close. Yeah. I mean, for me, it was great. I wasn't even sure that I won the second one, but then I heard Ryan say that I was up 8 points. So I was like, okay, I must have won it then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was up 8 on Luke at this point, and then significantly larger gap to Parker. And then the third sprint came, and I was full of confidence. I just won the first 2 sprints. I was way up in the Omnium at this point. I was like, oh, okay. So then I opened up the sprint. I won the sprint. I was like, oh, this is great. And then next thing I know, Parker and Manu come flying down after Luke and I had just been sprinting these last 30 laps. And I have no energy left. And they come flying down, and I'm like, oh man. So I try as hard as I can to get on. I was like, no, I can't do it. I pull off. Luke tries. He's like, no, I can't do it. He pulls off, and then we let Remy and Caden, they pulled for a bit, and then eventually Luke and I recovered a bit, and we chased back on, and we got it. But then it was the next sprint again, the fourth sprint, and I think Luke might have got fourth or something, or third in that sprint, but I
got
had
1 point. Yeah.
yeah, but I
So
I
that's
got
fourth
fifth.
place.
I had 0 energy left. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna follow the wheels, take the sprint off, and then try to recover for the last 2. And then yeah, Parker won the sprint. He was just like, he took the first half of the points race off and then just absolutely destroyed the second half. And yeah, I had
Sure.
very little legs left. I don't know about you, Luke.
Yeah, that was the like worst I've ever felt in a race. Like there was
Yeah.
one moment there when they broke and I was like, this is it. This is like, we're screwed. Like
Yeah.
we were so lucky they wouldn't work with each other because otherwise we'd have been so done.
Oh, they would have taken a lap.
Yeah, they would have
Oh,
taken a lap, and
easily.
then Luke and I's Omnium were just gone. I'm like,
Yeah. So you were aware of the point situation. You were trying to keep that in your heads as you were going through this race.
until I started suffering. I was aware of it. I was aware of it until Parker and Manu attacked, and then that all went out the window. I
Okay.
had no clue.
So
I
at
had
that point, it was just like get points, manage
Yeah.
damage kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had absolutely no clue at the points where I just knew that Parker didn't do well in the last race. So I was like, okay, it's between me and Mark.
And it was not.
And
It was not.
it was not.
In the end. It was a 3-horse race, and it turned out to be. So the last 2 sprints, the second to last sprint, I think I got third.
Yep.
Parker won again. He's just opened up the sprint, and I think Luke was second. Was Luke second?
Luke was second in the penultimate sprint.
Yeah, so Luke was second, I was third, and I just followed the wheels.
Oh, was
just,
I? Oh, that's pretty good. Hey, I got second. Nice.
I just tried to, like do damage control, limit my losses, just follow the wheels and get fourth. And then
I think at that point,
Third, I
what had
think.
happened is you guys had reintegrated because Manu was only good for fourth place in the fifth sprint.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then the last sprint, at that point, I did not think I was 9 points up going into the last sprint, but I didn't know it. I thought it was way closer. I thought I was up maybe like 2 or something points on Parker. And I was like, okay, I absolutely have to beat Parker in the sprint because otherwise I lose the whole Omnium. So I was like, okay, I gotta beat Parker, gotta beat Parker, gotta beat Parker. And then Parker started sprinting, and I just had no answer for it. It was only good enough to get fourth on the line, and I finished, and I was like, oh no, I lost it. I was like so upset. I was like, oh, I just blew it in the last sprint. Like I had the lead for the Omnium basically the entire way through, and then I just blew it on the last sprint. But then after a lap, I heard Ryan say, your new junior provincial Omnium champion, Marc the Shadow Sato. And I was like, oh, what? No way. I was like,
So-
whoa, I actually won.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the final results of the U19-17 points totals for the Omnium were after all 4 events. In third place, we had Luke Hubner. He came back and he got 131 points. So he was well clear of fourth place. Like it was 25 points between him and Manu in fourth. And then in second place, it was Parker Swanstrom with 134 points. So still could have covered that field with a blanket. And your winner was, of course, Marc the Shadow Sato with 135 points.
One
It was
point.
a 1
Really?
point. It is
1 point.
was 1 point. 1 point. So
That's
literally
nuts.
after me saying that the points don't really matter for the first few events, every point in this race mattered. It was to have 4 points cover the top 3 like that is a crazy close finish for an Omnium. And that was astounding. It meant literally that Marc's desperate 4th place was actually the winning margin.
Yeah.
Because it controlled the damage relative to Swanstrom getting 10.
Yeah.
So
That's
that final
crazy.
sprint was actually incredibly decisive in all of the results. I think if whoever had won that, I mean, basically any rearrangement of the results for Luke, Marc, and Parker in that final sprint would have changed the podium order quite dramatically.
That's true,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Because what was the difference? 3 points between me and Parker?
3 points between you and Parker. Yeah. So had you won the final sprint, you would have taken 2nd place. And had Marc fallen off have Marc fallen to 5th, you would have taken 1st.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I thought.
yeah.
I had no clue what any of the points were actually. At the end, I thought I won for 2nd when you were calling it out. I was like, maybe.
Yeah. It was but it was deadly close, right? I mean, you guys were all right there. It was just that you all had done a ton of work in the first 3 events, and the points race was just hammer and tongs, and Parker was like a man possessed, and he almost did enough to win it. But you guys, essentially, as Marc says, he was in damage control mode, and it was tactically the correct move.
All right, we got to switch Zooms.
All right.
We'll be right back with
Okay.
the last little bit of track provincials.
Final thoughts.
Final thought.
Well, Luke probably doesn't care, so you want to fill I'll do a little rant about some of the other results from that weekend that didn't involve the junior men.
Sure.
So we
Yeah.
had,
Go for it.
Annabelle Thomas winning the there were 2 Alberta women who came in and did the U17 girls race, and so in the Omnium they went 1-2 from the Cyclemeisters bow cycle team, Annabelle Thomas and Alexandra Volstad. So definitely 2 riders to keep an eye out for. Gold, silver, and bronze though go to the BC riders. So that was from our team, Marc. Your close personal teammates Sydney Swearenga and Geza Rogers were gold and silver, and the bronze went to Ela Rendell from Triple Shot over on the island. So I kept calling these kids the future of bike racing, and I think they definitely are. And there was good, credible results by a couple of other riders. I won't read them all out, but actually it was great because that was a really deep field as well. I think they had 10 riders doing most of the day, and I'm going to give a shout out, though, to Kimberly Chen because she ended up DNFing, but that was because she also had a pretty hard crash during the Omnium. And it was actually pretty good because she didn't finish out the Omnium, but she did finish out the match sprints. And I saw her at the Concord Grand Prix, the big money bike race on Sunday as well.
Yeah. There was that massive crash in one of the races in the girls Omnium. I was getting ready for my race, and I just heard this big crash and sound. I look over, and it's like massive pile up.
Yeah. And the elite and U19 women's Omnium was actually really lightly contested. It was a bit disappointing, but Micaiah Besler was a really credible winner, and I think she's pretty young too. Although I might be wrong about that. She might actually be U19, but she took it over Jen Girth, who's a very experienced and pretty credible racer herself. So it was a decent race for the first 2 places, but we hope to see more people in those races in the future. And the elite men, who
Kaya
cares?
is definitely not U19.
Oh, okay, my mistake. How old is she?
She's like 22 or something, or 23.
It's ancient, 22.
Dude.
Good grief, she's practically ready for retirement.
Yeah, she was really pissed at that race because they wouldn't let her race elite men. And like Micaiah's been to the world championships twice. Like she ain't she's like on a different level compared to the other women there.
I think they would have let her pretty much if it was any other event than provincials. And I think the biggest challenge there is she's fast, but the guys, I mean, like the elite men's race was was won by Alex Murison over some pretty credible opponents from both inside and outside the province. So like we had Caleb Bender, who actually didn't interesting. Caleb is an out-of-towner, but Eric Dearton's racing for an out-of-town team is a British Columbian, blah, blah, blah. Who cares about the rest? Okay, so provincial podium was Miras and Deartons and Sage Deleuze, some guys that we know and that you guys might know. Little shout out, we were talking about him earlier, Daniel Inwood. So this guy racing for YVR Fixed, and he did actually do the Elite Omnium, and he didn't do great in the Elite Omnium, but he any guesses as to how long Daniel Inwood has been a UCI licensed bike racer?
Oh, wasn't it 2 days or something?
It
Or
was a day. Apparently, he bought his license on Friday. So it's like, oh, I need a
a
license.
sprinter dude, right?
Yeah, sprinter dude. So the reason we're really talking about him is not for his, managing to survive the Omnium, because he, I believe, is the silver medalist in the elite men's sprint, which is pretty baller. So he literally showed up out of nowhere. I kept teasing him about riding a bike from, I think I changed the year every time to get older, but it was a steel tube frame bike from the looks of it. Although he had a disc wheel in the back, and he was actually wearing a white t-shirt with the sleeves taped so that they were
The
arrow.
sleeves taped.
They were. He had black electrical tape over both
I know, I
sleeves.
saw. It's
It was pretty
insane.
great. So we're giving a shout out here to Daniel Inwood, and he brought all his hipster dirtbag friends with him to cheer him on. And it was just fantastic to see, because he won the minor final. And I think technically that makes him the provincial silver medalist in the elite sprint. And and he beat some real bike riders, including, I was shocked, he beat Kyle Orser, and I'm pretty sure Orser's still mad about that, but because Orser's a fast, credible guy. He's getting older now, but nonetheless, he was probably thinking that this could be a provincial championship for him, and he got seen off by a guy in a t-shirt. Yeah, and we'll give a moment's credit to the rest of that elite men's sprint. So Guy McClintock was, I think, the fastest British Columbian. So I think he gets the provincial jersey, but he was beat in the final by Andrew Carlberg from Broadmark Capital out of Edmonds, Washington. And Daniel Inwood beat his opponent in the minor final, Frank Kovacs from Cyclemeisters in Calgary. So, but like I say, the revelation there is we know who Guy McClintock is. He's a local guy who's always been pretty fast and pretty powerful. Andrew and Frank, I think Andrew comes up quite often to the track for these sorts of events, but Daniel, we literally have never seen before, and we very much hope we'll see him again, because he was,
for sure.
he was amazing.
I also want to give a shout out to Mr. T-Wax Timothy Ho.
Oh yeah, provincial champion in teams.
The elite team sprint.
Nice.
Third in the provincial kilo, and second provincially in the Keirin. This guy is like 120 pounds.
For him to win any event that's not a hill climb is amazing. Yeah. Should we tell the folks that they're not going to hear too much from Timothy for a few months, because he's going on to start a future career? Does he want people to talk about where he's going?
No, it's top secret.
Top secret. We could tell you what Timothy Ho's new career is, but then we'd have to kill you. And
that's true.
Trying to hunt down all 14 listeners to this podcast would be too much of a pain.
We have more than 14 listeners.
Ryan,
do we?
Ryan, why did you hit us with that? Jeez.
Come on, man.
Jeez,
hey guys,
my guy,
the only reason I come on,
with you. You're the only guest to come on twice. And you've.
I only hate because I love, gentlemen.
Okay.
And anytime. So podcast listeners, if you like having this Ryan Cousineau guy come in and be truly cruel to minor children, then please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and say bring back Ryan Cousineau often, and on episodes where I'm not there, be like, yeah, this Maggie Cole's lister is great, but where's Ryan Cousineau? I like this Parker Swanstrom guy you've got guesting today, but where's Ryan?
Exactly. And also, we got 34 listens to our provincial review. So twice as many as you think.
Well, I'm truly owned here. My apologies.
So owned,
34
Ryan.
listeners, way too many. But anyways, what this means is T-Wax has suspended operations, which is a shame, because I think I literally have the last chain in that Timothy is waxing up. So, and in fact, I have to make sure that I get it from him before he flees the country. because he's still got one of my chains. If I have to hunt him down in wherever he goes, which is probably like Winnipeg or something, then that'll be
No,
annoying.
he's not going that far.
I
He'll
know.
be around.
He's going to Halifax, actually.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Somebody want to explain to Luke that Halifax is further than Winnipeg?
No, he's actually going to. Isn't he going to Costa Rica? I thought. Anyway,
Anyways, close enough.
or
Anyways,
Afghanistan.
we wish friend of the show Timothy Ho very well in his future efforts. And Tim, I need my chain back.
Yeah.
You
Anyway,
guys watch-
I want to briefly
Yeah.
touch on the Keirin on Sunday. Not many
Okay.
people actually made it to be in any kind of condition of race. Luke, obviously, he was in ER till 1, so he couldn't race. A lot of other people were doing the Concord. A lot of people just didn't have it in them to race. So it ended up being just 4 people in the U17 U19 Keirin final. It was myself, Remy, Caden, and Oscar Wong. And yeah, basically the bike pulled off, and then Remy and I just started match sprinting.
Not even any respect for your poor minor competitors there.
No, Caden was there too, but I was expecting him to jump under to take the sprinter's lane, but he never did. So I was like,
Oh.
okay, now I just sprint Remy here. And then yeah, it was basically like a lap and a half sprint, and I won. So
Seeing off Remy in that situation is impressive. Although I think Remy went and then took off and raced the junior race later in the day at
He
the
did.
Concord.
and he
And I
won
think
too.
he won
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, he won that.
So we're alluding to the Concord Grand Prix. That was the other big racing event on the weekend. I'm just gonna. Have you said? Do you want to say anything more about the Keirin
I
there,
didn't
Mark?
realize.
No,
I
I
didn't
think that's all.
realize it was actually like a big deal.
Well, it's a big money event. I can talk about it because this is what I was doing instead of commentating on the undersubscribed Keirin on Sunday, which is I whipped over to South Burnaby from North Burnaby. So everything was happening in Burnaby. Burnaby, it's a happening place, ladies and gentlemen. You should definitely come
Cycling.
to Burnaby. Pretty great. Kind of a big deal. I love it. So a local realtor named Concord Pacific is doing a new development just outside of Metro Town. So we're giving them a shout out because they have some cycling fans, and they did a sort of they wanted to punch up that this is a cycling oriented development that they're trying to sell folks on. So if you have, say high 6, low 7 figures, maybe high 7 figures worth of cash lying around to invest in realty, we'd love you to go hit up our friends at Concord Pacific, and please tell them Zone 2 Podcast sent you.
That's right.
Short version.
Then please tell them that. If
They
you
did
got
a-
millions of dollars, and please tell them that. But
They
it's,
did a
Zone 2
they
said.
put it up to basically throw a party and have a bike race, and it was they had some junior events, and then they just had sadly they weren't able to find the time to do like Cat 4 events, which is what I love, but they did have an elite men's and elite women's races, and they were pretty fun and some real cash on the line. And so a couple people went home with like $1,000 checks for winning those races, plus there were some decent preems.
Yeah.
And
$1,000 to win.
yeah, $1,000 to win, 600 for second place. And I had actually a rather strange job, which is I was literally riding in the back of the lead vehicle during the races. So Porsche came on board as a sponsor of the event. So I was sitting in the back seat of a Porsche Taycan, and my buddy Wei Yen was driving the rear vehicle, which was a Porsche 911.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the
I really
Taycan's
wish
real
I
good.
went.
Yeah, it was a fun event, and I think people had a lot of fun. They had a real street festival. We're hoping that I'm hoping they can be convinced to do this again, but I think they got some good response, and it seemed like people were interested. And to give you an idea of the kind of money that's being thrown around, so they have a penthouse suite in this development, and one of the deals is if you buy the penthouse suite, they throw in the Taycan for free.
What?
Yeah. MSRP $122,000. Dealers will not, in fact, sell for less. It's a Porsche. So it's actually a pretty nice electric car, and you get a private garage to put it in and an electric charger for your new electric Porsche that comes with your apartment.
Jesus.
Yeah, there's folks playing in a different league from us here, Luke and Mark. But anyways, But it was a lot of fun because it was a pretty great race and it was pretty neat. And they let it was such a big deal that they actually had a real commentator. They had Andrew Pinfold doing the race commentary. So
Not as good as you, Ryan.
No
I heard his commentary. It's pretty shammy compared to yours. He didn't bully any minors. It was kind of, it's like, what is he doing? Like,
How dare he? How dare he
Like-
not bully minors?
yeah, like he wasn't making fun of anyone's pink skin suits or
I wasn't
Or,
making fun of that
changing-
leopard
or
print skin
change-
suit. I thought that
or
was heroic, and I
changing-
thought actually your tattoo skin suit might have been even neater. I mean, I know it's sad the circumstances in which you had to change skin suits, but for the second half of the Omnium, Luke was rocking out in a like tattoo motif, mostly black skin suit.
yeah. I actually have it here.
Yeah.
to show viewers.
Whereas Mark was just doing the cool thing and wearing his like supporting team colors. Always
Yeah,
awesome.
like, what is like
Props to
so
Mark.
lame.
Right? I got it
No,
here.
Beating
not
the
lame.
team.
Very cool. Yeah, he's got it.
Not lame.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Mark Sato has a posse, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so for those of you interested, this was my first skin suit of the weekend. It's a very pink,
Mm-hmm. And yeah, show us
Very
the
pink.
damage.
very cool. So this is the pink skin suit,
With
and
the
then
tasteful leopard print.
Damages, there's a big rip right here. That's
Mhm.
actually not too bad.
Yeah,
I've had worse.
I've told him I'm gonna sew up Hube's skin suit when he comes to the Lower Mainland.
And then this is the tattoo skin suit. So I got like these tattoos in it. It's pretty funky. These are from Rock City Cycles in Nanaimo. And they make their own stuff. They make really nice jerseys, actually. This jersey is like showing my belly button. I don't know why he made me wear this. But we also have like
Sorry, guys, I made him wear it.
Well, we should.
They also have like these outfits. Very nice.
Nice. So do you
So
wear
they
that
make
as
really good
team?
stuff.
Do you wear that as team kit when you're not required to wear a provincial champion jersey, or what?
No, I'm not on a team. So if you happen to be the owner of a team, hit me up. I'm not on a team. I might be on Red Truck next year, but we'll see.
I was going to say Red Truck would do well to pick you up, and I think that'd be.
Alrighty, well let's wrap up here.
That's probably
yeah.
good.
Thank you everybody for listening. Sorry if we ramble on a little bit, but it was fun times.
Yeah,
I
but
have
you
a
guys are
final
gonna edit out
thought.
like an
I have
hour,
a final
right?
thought.
Yep.
No. This is raw. This is a raw content.
What's your
Do
final
you think,
thought?
You think we have time? Final thought is sometimes you have bad days, which was interesting for me to learn because this was my first really shit weekend. I probably shouldn't swear. I apologize. But this is my first really like terrible race day. Like I've heard people be like, oh, you have bad and good days. This was the first time I've had like a really terrible day. Like going into it the night before, I got no sleep because basically I've never gone into a race as like the favorite to win, and that was super stressful because like obviously I just came off winning road and also won everything the day before, so it's kind of like I'm like who everyone's going to be looking at and watching, and I don't know, and I've already like set myself that like I was going to win it, and like that was in my head. It's like I've won this, why do I even need to bother racing it, because in my head I've won this. Anyway, I had a terrible day. I felt really bad, and it's kind of upsetting.
I mean, I got to say, I think you're being a little hard on yourself, Luke. I mean, you consider the depth of competition you were facing in both the sprint and the Omni, and finishing a close third and a silver medal in the sprint. These are like incredible race results, and that's after you recovered from a pretty hard off in the middle of the Omnium. I mean, if that's going to be your bad day, then you'll be okay. You know.
Yeah.
On the other
I
end,
know,
I had a absolutely fantastic day.
You did.
Sorry,
But
sorry.
I
Luke.
was
Sorry,
looking at like the elite Omnium, and like on a good day, if I was having a good day, I would have been like second or third in the elite Omnium. Like I know that competition, and they're like people I've raced quite a bit, and I know where I stack up to them on a good day, and I would have been like second or third on the elite. So
And
yeah, it was interesting.
You've got time, right? I mean,
I know, but this was a race. This was a race, Ryan.
17 now.
Provincials.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
But yeah,
Well,
that's
thanks
my
for
thought.
listening, everyone. See ya.
Oh, okay. Bye. Bye.